So do you have now the screen fully? Okay. So let's talk about today's session topic, which is Introduction to Research and the Scientific Method. Okay. So we're going to talk about research and its scientific methods. As already you studied before some information regarding the research, I will review that once again for you. Then come to scientific methods. Okay. You know, research is a systematic process of inquiry and also it moving from questions to evidence-based conclusions. This information is based on exclusively references like the book of Creswell, version 2018, and J. Comer, another book is 2019. Okay, when I'm talking any topics for you, when I'm just presenting any topics for you, I'm using referencing. Keep in mind this because in the future sessions I will talk about this point and why I am using referencing. Okay, so this is important. Keep in mind that most of the time this is important for you because one main point that is called plagiarism. We need to consider all the time for plagiarism in each point of our study, especially in the manuscript writing. Okay, so we are not allowed to use others' informations without referencing them. Okay, so we already studied about the research and what it is. Okay, so now I'm going to just briefly telling again for you because most of you were not studied properly. Yes, and it makes me a little sad, but technically in the future sessions I will not tolerate that, and you will be the students who are suspended from this course, from this class. Okay, as well. So due to that, I will ask you to take actions in the future sessions. Please be prepared in the class and read your previous studies, your previous lessons as well. Okay, so let's talk about what is research. Research is a planned, systematic investigation to obtain answers to questions or solutions for problems. Okay, there are too many problems. We only search for answers and solutions for these problems. Yes, and it is maybe evidence-based or any ideas that is maybe stronger than the point of view we found from the evidence. Okay, and because of that we call it is evidence-based conclusions. Okay? And these are stronger when grounded in systematically collected area, and also it might be appropriately analyzed by some softwares called SPSS or like this. Okay, because they are scientifically approved and they just share the findings for you. They will find some correlations, they will find some analytic meaning. Okay, so this is the point. When you find some evidence-based conclusions and they will be worked or they grounded by a systematic collection of works maybe, and you will analyze them, so you will figure out or you will find some findings that are valuable for your research project as well. So let's talk about that. Your study should contain this specificity and this essential character. Okay. One point is systematic and logical sequence of connected decisions at every stage. Okay, I said that before, that a research should be systematic and it should be in multiple stages, and it should have graded or level stages, like one by one, gradually should be conducted. Okay, so due to that I said that systematic conduction of this process is necessary. Okay, let's move to the next one. That is evidence-based. Okay, most of the time you know this evidence-based is necessary because we cannot find anything from ourselves. So due to that, most of the time we need evidence. Okay, and we can use them. Yes, because conclusions grounded in appropriate, this is necessary for analyzing evidence or anything. Okay, so we need evidence-based information. So then your study should be purposeful. Okay, you need to address a clearly identified problem, then you should find the answer. Okay, this is the point, or you should find the solution for a problem and an answer for question. Good. So let's talk about why research matters. Okay, knowledge and professional practice cannot depend on assumption, and because of that, most of the time we need to consider some points of view. Okay, we cannot study or do research for traditions or personal experience alone. Due to that, research provides a disciplined approach from investigating questions and evaluating claims. Okay, so we will evaluate, we will investigate, then we come up with some findings. Okay, so we cannot only put ourselves for information from personal experience, okay, or traditions or an assumptions. Okay, so these are the points that we need to consider all the time. Like generating new knowledge is necessary for your research study, and you should consider this. Okay, your study should add some informations, new information to literatures. Okay, so due to that, because of that, your study should have this characteristic as well. And because of this, your research is important, because your research is going to add a value for the next generation of studies. Okay, so then solving practical problems. This is also one of the main point, or one of the most important point that your research should have or consider this, because research is important, because the findings or the result of the study might solve a practical problem. If your study does not have these characteristics, so it shall be like nothing, and you cannot use specifically this study's finding. Okay, so please use investigations for finding a solution. Okay, so one of the points that most of the time researchers should consider, that is solve practical problems by doing research. Okay, so let's move to the next point, and that is improve practice. Each study should improve the practices as well. Okay, evidence supports better decisions and evaluates existing practices. Because of this, we need to work on a study which that study will improve the practice of an area. Okay, so another point is test explanations is also necessary. And most of the time, your research examine whether proposed relationships are supported by evidence. Okay, your findings is important, and you need to prove them. Okay, and with what you will prove the findings? With you will propose some relationships between any kind of variables, or maybe you will support by evidence. So these are the points that your study or your research matters. Okay, so let's talk about characteristic of good research. I've already talked about this for you, and most of the time about the characteristic of research, and maybe most of you hear the word coherence. Exactly, yeah, because most of the time every individual, when they are seeing something new, very special, they will tell you this is very coherent. Yes, and the quality of your research depends on the coherence of the problem, design, methods, analysis, and reporting. Okay, not simply the amount of data collected. Because most of the time, individuals think that, or researchers think about, not researchers, because technically researchers know this. They most of the time consider the problem, design, methods, analysis, or reporting, because it's not depend. This is important, but not the point of coherence. Okay, this is not a main point for coherence of your study. Each study should be coherent, or should have that coherence characteristics. How much you study your study is the population of your study. This is not that much important as the design, then the methods, analysis, or reporting. Okay, all of these points are necessary and should be critical and should be specific and should be clearly this characteristic should be clearly visioned, or kind of it should be clearly stated in the manuscript. Okay, and also this point is important because each point of this characteristic show coherence. Okay, if your problem is something that is previously solved, so it is the problem that you chosen before for your study. So if this is already solved, this is not called coherence. Okay, so you will choose a problem that is not already solved, and then you will go to a design that is applicable or that is feasible for you to work on this design of your study in the area you want to do research. Okay, as well methods and analysis. The final findings and the final data you collected should be analyzable. Okay, and you need to do that some analytic points to find some statistic. Okay, and some findings from that statistic. Okay, so this is necessary. And finally, how to write, how to report. This is also as well. Your writing is also one of the most point of view that most of them considering as a coherence. Because most of the people think that if we collect too many data, our study may be very precious or maybe coherence, okay? But technically that is not correct, okay? So due to that, I said that the type of the problem, the type of the design, the type of the methods, analysis, and reporting is necessary. All of them are main points that you need to work on them for producing a coherence work, okay? Or a coherent work for your study, okay? So I study or a research project should have this characteristic. I said that before, and your study should be systematic and logical. Your study should be empirical and also transparent, and your study should be ethical and critical, okay? And as well communicable. These are the characteristics that we previously talked about, all of them. So I know most of you now understand these points one by one. So let's move from this slide, the characteristic of a research. So now let's talk about the three research approaches, okay? These are the general approaches just most of the researchers are using in their studies. So the choice of approach should follow the research problems and questions, and it is not depends on the your choice. It depends on the research problem and questions, okay? It depends on the type of your study. What you want is something necessarily should be narrow it to one point or more than one point. So then you will figure out your research problem, then you will put your questions, then you need a plan, okay? You need a landscape. So because of that, there are some approaches for a researcher. To do research, they need all these necessary things, okay? So there is three main approaches, which is one of them quantitative. And most of the time, the researchers are using this approach for measuring variables numerically, okay? They just use numbers, okay? They describe patterns, compares groups, tests hypotheses using structured instruments, and statistical analysis, okay? So in quantitative approach, they are doing these things. Because of that, we should specify our research problem, okay? And then we will decide in which approach we should go through. So I said that quantitative is something researchers using numbers and describe patterns, compares groups, these things, okay? And so the next approach is qualitative approach. Most of the researchers are going through understands meaning, okay? They going to use interviewing methods, and they want to find some meanings, okay? Some experiences from previous individuals and from the people who are just experienced something, okay? We will gather information from them by interviewing them, okay? And this is the approach why it is called qualitative, okay? And and also from contexts of some previous information, okay? So this approach is using interviews, observations, and document analysis in natural settings, okay? So most of the time individuals or researchers are using this approach for finding some meanings, okay? And because of that, this approach is not that much common, but because this is a little difficult and time consumer, and in medical fields most of the time, because quantitative is something reliable for researchers as well, and also for doctors or professionals, they are using quantitative, okay? But we have also mixed methods. Sometimes some researchers prefer mixed methods to find some great findings, okay? They want to find meaningful findings or something valuable. Because of that, they intentionally combine both approaches, and also they use numerical trends and contextual explanations complement for one another, which it will give a complete understanding, okay? More complete understanding from what they want, okay? Because of that, they use mixed methods. You know, as much the researcher using both of them, quantitative and qualitative, the research project might be a little difficult. You know, each of them have their own approach, their own characteristics, and their own pathways, okay? Because of that, they need energy, they need investment, they need support, everything, okay? They need more time. So the difficulty of each of them might be different from each other, okay? So you should already understand about the quantitative and qualitative. I'm not talking about anything else more. You know, quantitative is something most of the researchers are going to evaluate or using to calculate by numbers, okay? 100 patients have diabetes mellitus type 2. Okay, this is a number. But in qualitative, most of the individuals are using meanings like this. 100 individuals be interviewed, and they have the idea that social media is negative for the school students. Okay, using social media is negative. Using social media have negative feedbacks on school students. Okay, so this is the qualitative. There is a meaning only. Okay, we figure out the meaning from interviewing the students and the quality of their studies at school, because social media has some effects. Okay, so this is the points. Okay, in quantitative they are using numbers, but in qualitative they are using meanings. Okay, in mixed methods both of them are using. So let's move to the next slide, and this is the research process. We have 10 major steps in doing a research process. First of all is identifying the research problems, which we will go through this in the practical session. Okay, and then clarifying purpose, objectives, and questions. Reviewing relevant literatures, then come to the clarifying purpose, objectives, and questions. Okay, after that, selecting an approach and a design for your study. After that, you will go through defining populations and sampling strategy. Then in step 6, you will go through the selecting data collection methods. Okay, then you will go to determine how to collect the data systematically and ethically. Okay, after that, you will go through analyzing the data according to the design you have chosen before. Okay, and then you will go to interpret all the findings after the analyzing of the data, and you will report all this information clearly with limitations and implications. Okay, so these are the points and the major steps in each research project we need to consider. Okay, so there is some worldviews and scientific methods. Okay, let's talk about these 4 features of the scientific method. Philosophical worldviews are just assumptions about knowledge and reality shape of research design. Okay, because we need to consider each points of view in a research project. Okay, there are too many types of researchers, but they have some points of view. In my points of view, there is a view that is called post-positivist. Okay, post-positivist is a view that is underestimating, or that is working on measurement, on theory testing. Okay, on quantitative studies. Okay, this is the point. These point of views actually they say, or they consider studies because they think everything is going to be give good findings by studying them in numerical shape. Okay, most of the scientists are doing this, and they are called post-positivists. Okay, so they use measurement, they use theory testing. In theory testing, you used experimental laboratory experiencing. Okay, some testing in the laboratory. Okay, so these methods are called quantitative. Okay, good. So these are the points of view that they consider their approach should be quantitative. But on the other hand, there is some other kind of view that's like constructivist. Okay, constructivist is some point is one of the point of view that most of the researcher which consider qualitative approach is they think meaning is something we need to consider during doing a research project, and they think by finding the meanings we can find good results from the study. Okay, so this is one of the point of view which they believe, the researchers believe. Okay, so this kind of view consider qualitative approaches. Okay, in their studies, in their research projects. Good. So one of the next points of view is transformative. Okay, individuals from different areas of the world might be believe this kind of view. They think about the power, they think about the inequalities, they think about the marginalized voices. They think these are the points that they should consider in their studies. They should work on these points. Okay, so they in this point of view, they consider both approaches, quantitative and qualitative, which is mixed approach. Okay, so another type is pragmatic. and pragmatic is a point of view that they work on problems. Okay, they think we need to find a problem, then solve this problem. They only consider this point of view, and as much as we can use any kind of method or any kind of approach to find the solution. Okay, so they consider mixed methods, mixed approaches. Okay, so due to that, most of these researchers consider any approach to find only the solution of the problems, because they take care of what is the problem. Always they think like this: there is a problem and we should find the solutions. Then there is a problem, we should find the solutions. Like this, most of the time, this point of view using different type of approaches. Okay, so these are called pragmatic theory points of view, pragmatic researchers. Okay, so I'm the type of post-positivist. Okay, I mean I like this kind of point of view because I think measurement and theory testing is something reliable. Okay, maybe you might think constructivity is something more reliable for you to find the meaning of a research project. Okay, as well. So another point of view is transformative. Maybe some of you believe that transformative is a good view for doing a research project. Okay, maybe in Afghanistan most of the politicians believe that transformative is the good point of view for doing a research. Okay, most of them are the type of transformative. Okay, so there are too many point of view, but this 4 point of view is the most important and the most common of them. Okay, so the core features of the scientific method is you should observe and ask questions, and you will review and you will hypothesize some ideas. Okay, then you will go to interpret, communicate, and then communicate, and after that you will observing and giving questions, reviewing and giving a hypothesis, then investigating. Okay, start your hypothesis and take action, then come through the investigations, then analyze the findings, then you will find the findings, you will find or figure out the result, then interpret all the findings from the analyzed data, interpret them, and then communicate them to the journals. Okay, let's talk about key methodological components as well. So do you have any questions up to now?
No, sir.
Okay. Key methodological components: research problems and literature review. The problem must be clear, focused, and also researchable. Because I said that before for you, we need to narrow down the topic we just choose. Okay, we choose a topic for our research. We should narrow down that clearly. Okay, we should clear that what we want and what should be conducted and why we need to do that, or what will be the benefit of this. Okay, so the problem should be clear and focused and researchable, and we need to also review the literatures to synthesizing existing knowledge, identifying some gaps, and positioning our own study. Okay, because most of the time maybe we're choosing that wrong topic, or maybe a topic that already conducted before. Yeah, so due to that, we need to go through the literatures and review them. Okay, one by one and professionally. So the next thing is questions, variables, and design. Each study should have research questions, objectives, and hypotheses, and the hypothesis must align with the design. Okay, so according to the research questions, we need to consider some variables, and variables must be operationalized for consistent measurements. Okay, and in further sessions in the future, I will go through each of these steps, each of these process practically and theoretically, because most of the time, I know you don't know exactly what is question, what is variables, what is design. Everything okay should be clear for you in the future sessions. So only learn right now what is the key methodological components. Okay, so let's move to the sampling and data collection section. Each study should have this point, and they need to consider sampling method, sampling strategy, because this affects the quality of findings. And also data collection is something necessary it should be feasible. Okay, it should be kind of easy, not that much difficult. You cannot do that, or maybe not that much easy, or kind of that much unvaluable, because most of the time you just collect the data for a purpose. Okay, if there is some data but you don't have but at the consequence, you will not find out something from this data. So this is necessarily important that you should think about this, how you can collect the data, how you will do that. Okay, so data collection methods, questionnaires, interviews, observation, all of them should match the research design, okay, or must match the research design. Okay, so let's talk about analysis, quality, and ethics. You know, data analysis is much more difficult than all the points, all the stages of a research project, because this is the main stage of a research project. When you find the data, when you collect the data, after that you enter to the software, then you analyze. If you not collected the data correctly, if you not approached correctly, your approach is wrong, and maybe your methodology isn't wrong, and you don't have a good plan for your research, at the end, in the data analysis, you will face a big problem. So this is necessary for you to, if you want to find something very, very easy in the data analysis section, so go through the data collection from the prior research, from the beginning. Do your job, do your task very perfect. Okay, so this is necessary. Quantitative analysis uses descriptive and inferential statistics. Okay, then qualitative analysis involves coding, categorization, and pattern interpretations. Explains what findings mean relative to research questions and limitations. Okay, and then validity, reliability, and trustworthiness. These are the points I just before told you, because most of the time we cannot use our own assumptions. We need to prove it. Okay, so the point is validity, reliability, and trustworthiness. We should ask these questions. Does the study measure what it claims? Is measurement consistent? And talk or prove there is any evidence or any proof for the credibility strategies in qualitative research. Okay, most of the time individuals are using triangulations and member checking. Okay, so these are the points that we need to check them. Okay, so ethical principle is as well one of the most important points of a study or a research, because taking informed consent from the participant or voluntary participation is necessary in each study, and confidentiality, privacy, and minimizing harm. You know, each study, any kind of study, have some harms to the participants, but technically we as a researcher, we are responsible to minimize all this harm, and we should be loyal, honest during reporting all the data. We should not change the findings, everything. If there is a limitation, is there a problem with our work, if we not conducted our research study good, we need to indicate, or we need to report that. Okay, with honesty, because this is our responsibility, and we should take the responsibility of authorship as well. Okay, the summary and some key takeaways are there for you to consider at the end of this presentation. Okay, the most important principle is methodological alignment, the problem, questions, design, sampling, data collection, data analysis, and conclusion. These are all the alignment of a methodology. So these should fit together coherently. Okay, this should fit together very in a good way. Okay, so research is something systematic work. Okay, so there is a purpose, or there is a goal, and it should be logical, it should be transparent, and the ethical inquiry is necessary. This is because we need to consider each time, and not opinion. Okay, so the approach is also one of the most important points that you need to consider. What is quantitative, what is qualitative, and the work you want to study or the topic you want to study should be qualitative or quantitative. Okay, or it should be mixed methods. Okay, you know, now each of them have severe different differences, and also, you know, in each study, in each of this approach, you will find different purposes. Okay, so these all things is necessary for you to understand. Okay, so avoid from common errors. Most of the time individuals or researchers are just doing some errors. Okay, because they, when choose a topic, they have unclear problems. Okay, their methods are misaligned. Okay, so the sampling method is not good enough. Okay, so they have a poor sampling method. The consequence of these all errors might be a bad result of your work. Okay, so at the end you will not find something. Okay, so this is the point all the time that you need to consider in your research study. In conclusion, I want to say in this presentation, I just want to tell you that you need to understand the approach of your work, the characteristic of a study. Okay, this validity, reliability, and trustworthiness is the very important point. And also, you need to, when you want to do a research project, you need to find a problem or a gap from the literatures, and then go through the literatures, study one by one, okay, each papers, and choose your approach. Then come to the questions, variables, design, sampling, data collections. Okay, so before doing your research project, you should choose one of these theories. Okay, one of these points of view. Okay, I know most of you are doctors, so you will be the cost positivist. Okay, because these are the point of view that most of doctors or professionals are just using this because they believe numbers are something that is statistically reliable. Okay, they believe that numbers in mathematics they will give answers. Okay, so this is necessary that you determine your point of view. Okay, so we will identify the research problem, we will review relevant literatures, now clarifying our purpose, why we are going to do this. Okay, and what is the objective of our work, and what is the questions. Okay, and then we go through to according to the question, according to the objective, according to the purpose, we select an approach. Okay, we studied approaches like quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method. Okay, and also design. In the future, I will talk about all kinds of design in each types of approach. Okay, each types of approach has their own designs. Okay, so I will talk about this in the future sessions. Okay, so then we will go to define population sampling strategy. Then we will select data collection methods. Then we go through the collecting data systematically and ethically. So after that, we will enter the data to the softwares, then analyzing the data according to the design. Okay, after analyzing the data, we will interpret the findings. Okay, so then reporting clearly, honestly, and we will indicate our limitations, and also we will suggest some applications in the future. Okay, so this was today's presentation. I hope that you just learned something.